anew with the death, burial, and resurrection. You also have the adjudication. You also have the judgment. Okay? The
That's
judgment,
Revelation.
right, that is the generation. That's the
No,
40-year.
Revelation.
Okay, hold on. uh, the time period between the resurrection and ascension is 40 years.
No, because the apostles were still alive.
Okay, listen to
They
what I'm
went up to
saying.
the upper room.
Right, I'm going to try to say it again. The transition period is 40 years. Okay, AD 70, this is in the typical time frame, whether or not we want to question whether there is 1,000 years of history that's missing. I don't want to get into that. My point is, the mainstream narrative says that the temple of Israel, of Jerusalem, was destroyed in 70 AD.
Yes, I
40,
agree.
okay, great. 40 years before that is 30 AD, which would put us in the crucifixion, resurrection, ascension. Jesus said in Matthew 24, all of these things will happen in this generation. The biblical concept of a generation is 40 years. So the transition period is a 40-year transition. The Old Testament didn't end with the resurrection and ascension. It
I
ended
believe
with.
that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. I'll just.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You
It's
first.
okay. It's okay. I'll just repeat myself. The Old Testament didn't come to an end with the resurrection and ascension. It came to an end with the adjudication, which would be the coming of the Son of Man, which would be the destruction of the temple, which is what Jesus describes in Matthew 24. When the disciples say to Jesus, look at all of these buildings, look at all of these magnificent structures. We have the temple, Jesus. And Jesus says, do you see all these things? I tell you, not one stone will be left on another. The entire Olivet Discourse, which is Matthew 24 and 25, is about AD 70. Every part of it. So the coming of the Son of Man is about the destruction of the temple, which is about the end of the old covenant system. So the old covenant system is a transition, the 40-year transition, which is why the gospel had to go out, so that the Jews who were dispersed in Galatia and Asia Minor and Thessalonica and Corinth and Colossae and Ephesus, all of those locations had synagogues that had Jews in them that were in the end times. And Jesus sent his disciples out as fishers of men so that the message of the gospel would go out to those who needed to hear it, so that when the destruction of the temple came, they would be on the right side of history, so to speak. I'm done.
Okay.
But I'm not done. Like I said, the last thing I'm going to say really is, again, this is a huge discussion. It's not. I don't expect that the light's going to go on. I just don't, and that's perfectly okay with me. This is a big discussion that has tons of questions. So I don't expect that this is going to be resolved right now. I'm just giving you more information that you can either choose to process or not.
I've got a quick question for both of you. Oh, by the way, hi, Flatten Earth.
Hey, Flatten Earth.
So my question is, fill in the blanks. The blank shall lay down with the lamb.
Mandela.
Lion.
Lion for you, Samantha?
I went out and bought statues of lions and lambs. Catholics are big on statues. And there were multiple lions and lambs. I didn't find one wolf and a lamb statue. And so that there, at least, and some of these are older statues. I mean, like 1950s.
Yeah. What about you, Travis?
Wolf.
You're wolf? That's interesting.
Yeah, my explanation of that is that you have a conflation. Okay. So the only place that Jesus is referred to as a lion and a lamb is in the book of Revelation. The lion of the tribe of Judah and the lamb. All right. So you have a conflation. Isaiah, in his description of the new covenant, Isaiah uses the metaphor of a wolf lying down with a lamb. So it's an innocent conflation. Jesus is referred to as a lion and a lamb, and people just didn't. they just married the two. There's no difficult resolution.
Are you that way with all Mandela effect items?
No, I mean, I suppose because the reason why I will say no is because I'm not that naive to think that they are so easily resolved. So we would have to discuss, each one in its own turn. But in this one, I am going to be 99% firm.
Okay. Well, for someone who isn't religious or grew up religious, I always thought it was lion should lay down with the lamb too. But
I would say that that's probably simply because you're not religious, because you aren't in the community, that you simply hear the conflation that other people make.
Yeah, I guess that is true.
That
But I mean, it's interesting when I look online on videos and so many pastors and stuff like that. Just
oh no, I gave Brian Stavely, I gave him a link. I was listening a couple of weeks ago. I was listening to my mom. My mom sent me, because my mom, she'll tolerate me with Flat Earth, and she'll tolerate me with my end times discussion because she loves me, right? Because I'm her son. But she sent me this. She's like, listen to this thing by John MacArthur. I love John MacArthur, and I loved John MacArthur when I was a kid too. And so I said, okay, I'll listen to it. So I listened to this lecture, and in the lecture he said lion and lamb. So I sent this to Brian Stavely. I'm like, Brian, check out minute XYZ. He's like, oh, bro, this is awesome. Thanks for doing this. So I mean, it's there, but you've got someone like John MacArthur, who is a 50-year veteran of Bible teaching. And he says the lion lays down with the lamb. And I'm just telling you, it's a conflation. It's just this innocent. It's a hiccup. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I would disagree.
Kathy is the same. Kathy says, I'm 65 and studied the Bible much of my life. No, it was lion.
Every nun and priest who ever went on about it was saying lion and lamb.
So
I think you can find a lot of stained glass windows of lions and lambs in church after church.
Yeah.
So
for me, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I guess my question would be, and this is where I actually said this to Brian. You know who I mean by Brian Stavely?
I don't know.
I am not familiar with him.
Okay. So he's got a channel. I think he's got like 2 or 3 channels because he gets shut down all the time because he's a 9/11 truther. His main channel is called The Real News Online. The Real News Online. And then I think his other backup channels are Brian Staveley, all in one word, Brian Staveley. Anyway, so what I said to him was, I'm like, okay, look, dude, I'm totally open. Okay, right? I've changed my mind about the shape of the world. I've changed my mind about the coming of Christ. So I'm not closed-minded, bro. I need you to show me a text that says the lion will lay down with the lamb. You can't do it.
Well, that's
You can't.
Mandela effect. We can't we can't
Exactly.
get it.
But okay, but listen, hold on.
Oh,
Let's
you know
just,
what? I have an
just,
interesting
well,
example.
no,
Hold
hold on.
on, give you a
All right,
physical example.
let me moderate. Travis go, and then Samantha go, and then I'll go.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we need to understand that if you don't have an example, the argument falls apart. You can't say it was one way when all you have is the wolf will lay down with the lamb. You can't say it said the lion at one point when all you have is the wolf. Because if you look in my Bible right now, it will not say the lion shall lay down with the lamb. It'll say the wolf. So you can't say, well, at one point, some other time it said lion. Okay, show me that. Well, that's
Okay,
the
I can't.
Mandela effect.
Yeah,
Right,
we'll
that's
get.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Go ahead, Samantha, and then I'll go.
Okay, I had a 1972 version of the New American Standard Bible, Catholic Bible, and a New American Standard Catechism. In the Catechism, it said lion and lamb. In the Bible, it for the same verse, same chapter, it said wolf and lamb.
Huh.
So that was 1972 New American Standard Bible and Catechism.
Right.
Now,
So
why would the Catechism denounce what the Bible had said?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
And for me, in my
now,
reply,
if it still says that, if it corrected, because I've seen Mandela effects catch up to the glitches, and they do sometimes change the glitches.
Yeah, my thing is that religious people are very good at remembering their scriptures, and that it's just that one line that gets changed, and people remember so many other scriptures, the chapter and the verse very well, and just to have just that one particular one being such a big change in the system. The thing is, I can understand if it's conflation coming from me, but for a whole bunch of people who memorize so many chapters and verses that they just
and
got
the art.
Yeah, and some of the art. Like for me, a big one was, I'm not sure if you guys noticed it either, but in
Okay,
the
well, hold on. Let me
depictions.
stop real quick, Ebon.
Sure.
So let me ask Samantha. So when you say art, right? So if we're having a discussion right now, and I would say, okay, can you show me a depiction in art?
I have two
Because
I do.
statues in my house at the moment, one to the 1950s and one of probably 1970s that have the lion and the lamb.
Because here's the thing I want to
And
ask
one
you.
has Mary and the lion and the lamb.
Okay, that's not an issue for me. My question though is, I don't have a problem with. Okay, let's say for instance, let's say for instance, all three of us have no concept of the Mandela effect, and we all show up at Samantha's house, and she's got an artistic rendering of the lion and the lamb.
Multiple.
Okay, whatever. Okay, so we only see the first one, even though you've got multiple. We only see one because you got the multiple back in your study, and your study is where you keep all of the other multiples. But in the first entryway, we've got the lion laying down with the lamb or whatever, but it's only in pictorial form. My question is, where do we get the idea that this is the representation of the Mandela effect wolf/lion? Because remember what I said was the New Testament in the book of Revelation refers to Jesus as both lion and lamb. So as I walk into your entryway and I see this depiction and I see lion and lamb, I'm not going to think Isaiah. I'm going to think Revelation, because Revelation shows me the lion and the lamb. But the book of Isaiah shows me the wolf and the lamb. So we have to have context set to it. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you tell me that there are artistic depictions in pictorial form of the Mandela effect, I'm going to need more information. That's all I'm saying.
So talking about pictorial forms, I wanted to ask you another one. And this could be Mandela effect. But Moses, depiction of Moses. Does he have horns or does he not have horns?
No, he didn't, but he does now.
What about you, Travis?
Well, Auguste Dore is, I think, the artist that most people refer to that shows a light projection which comes out from behind Moses's head, which to me doesn't look like horns. It looks like two rays of light that come out from behind his head. So,
Ebon, I thought you were talking about the statue.
Yeah, there's statues as well, like Michelangelo.
Yeah, he didn't. In my childhood, I never saw horns. And my mom was an art master, had her master's degree in art. I had to study all that stuff. Never saw the horns until just a few years ago. Then I was like, what the heck?
So
I hadn't seen this version of the statue.
All right. So I guess my question would be, are they horns like antelope or sheep?
Goat horns, like these little pointy little things.
If you Google Moses space horns, you'll see a bunch of images and sculptures.
Mm-hmm. No, I never saw any of that, and my mom was pretty nitpicky about making me look at the artwork and such.
Yeah, I never realized he had horns either. Otherwise, I would go, hey, why would Moses have horns? I would have asked that. But
no.
All right, I'm gonna do that right now.
I think that goes. I
see that
Google as more
this right now.
Pan. Okay. You know, Pan has always had horns. And,
yeah.
And in the last few years, Pan and / Baal has come up so much. You know, since all the Mandela effects started, Pan always existed, but I think we're getting kind of inundated with the Pan image, and that's when all of a sudden, a few years ago, people said, "Oh, Moses' horns," and that's how I connected.
I think it's
I
just.
could be wrong, but.
That's
my own personal. I mean, you know, I think because I believe we're in end times, we're getting inundated with Satanism and satanic imagery and just black magic, just spells on our reality. That these images are sneaking in to us through whatever dimensional shifts.
So okay, let me ask you. Okay, so let's bring this back to it. Okay, so I'm looking at this for the first time, right? So I'm getting like Mandela right now, right? So okay. I just Googled Moses horns. I'm clicking the images, and I've got images of Pan / Moses.
Right.
And the question though becomes, for me, because I understand symbolism, what is the symbolic meaning? Because I don't have a problem with symbolism. Right?
It goes back to Baal was the god they were in Mystery Babylon and antediluvian, before the flood. The people were building the Tower of Babel and worshiping Baal, which is Pan, the god Pan. That was the child sacrifice and all that. And then you see Baphomet today is the more common image that has the little girl on one side and the little boy on the other. And that's a very long story. I don't know if I'm drawing any.
Okay, so I guess my question would still remain. That is, okay, but what does it symbolize? If you say it symbolizes Baphomet, go
what
ahead.
I'm saying is that basically Moses was kind of he gave us the 10 Commandments of God. I think it's just, I can't give you the entire, I'm just kind of going from old thoughts. I'm getting tired here too. Basically, it's black magic inverts everything, making the good evil, the evil good. So you're talking about Moses, who is an iconic figure in Old Testament and New Testament in other cultures as well, with the 10 Commandments. It's basically taking this icon of faith and turning it into something evil by mimicking the representation of Pan through the horns. That's just my impression. I can't say that I have anything really to back that up other than just bits and pieces that come to mind right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I do see a lot of inversion, and I would call it perversion as well. You only invert it to pervert it, you know? And then I see that.
All right, so I guess my question, I'm looking at this stuff, I'm just going like, this is just a basic Google search. So like hundreds of images.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this one though, I know you can't see that what I'm looking at.
You can share it.
Yeah, but I'm on my PC right now. I guess I could go in and.
I'm on my phone. I really can't draw it up.
All right, I guess I can try to do that. I'd have to go back to your channel.
Don't worry. We could do like a dedicated talk on this some other night, and we can have.
You know what? I'm exhausted. It's been a long night. It's been a fascinating discussion. Hello to everybody who bothered to listen in. I don't know how many people are there.
Not much. People come in, come out, but it's never
Any
big.
good comments?
Mostly Kathy B. I mean, she likes to research into things. She's also a big like had to study everything with the Bible and stuff, and she remembers lions, and I think she's Mandela affected too. But thank you for coming in, Samantha, and you too, Travis. I can keep this going for an hour. There's probably if you want to stay in.
I'll be snoring.
Good stuff.
Okay, you should definitely come in another night, Samantha.
Certainly. Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Good evening.
Have a good
Thanks
night.
for coming in, Samantha.
Now,
all right, Ebon.
Hi, how's it going? Like for me, when you're talking about, when both of you are talking about the religions aspects and information, since I'm agnostic, I don't have preconceived notions of how things are. So I can't have it.
That's an interesting facet, because I think at the same time, even though you don't have a strong religious background, I think that you still have what I guess we would call residue.
Yep.
Because you've heard certain things.
I've heard and I've read. I mean, so I read really fast. I was always a slow learner. And then like I didn't read a normal book that wasn't a Garfield book until I was like 11. And then once I started to go to like the public library, like there are some books that I read that I loved, but I read so slow. It's like, how am I going to read all these books? So the first book I read and started to practice is how to speed read. And so I got to reading books really fast and reading a lot of books. And it wasn't until I was maybe 16, 17 that I really wanted to see if I could find a religion. So I just read all these different types of religious books, from, the Old Testament, the Quran, New Testament, King James Version, the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, and a lot of Native American stuff. And at that point, I was like, well, I don't find anything I believe in, and so I stopped. And then I looked again when I was around 20, when I was in the Navy, and I read a lot of different things over again, and I was like, okay, I still can't find anything. I'll just keep waiting. And then I haven't really looked until I've become like flat earther. Like I like when I looked into like occultism and rabbit holes. Yeah, I came across a lot of the more esoteric type of things like theosophy and Gnosticism and way back then I also got into like Zen Buddhism and Taoism, but 20 about 20 years later, taking another look at everything, including Taoism and what's the other one, even Confucianism and a whole bunch of other religions out there, focusing more again on the like the Book of Enoch, the Nag Hammadi, and there's a lot of other things out there. But still, I always remembered certain things, like we were mentioning. I never pictured Moses with the horns, or at least it's like it took me by surprise when I learned that. Looking through all the lists of Mandela effects that people keep saying, that, and then the lion shall lay down with the lamb is actually wolf. That got me. And like if we went through a whole list of Mandela effects, I've got a lot on my list.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess to bring it back to and keep it focused on the religious aspect, if you are interested in reading something that would stretch your religious hermeneutic, do you know what I mean by that term, hermeneutic?
Hermetic or hermeneutic?
Hermeneutic.
I never heard of that.
That's the Greek word that is translated as interpretation. Okay. So the I think that I'm pretty sure that this book is available online. It's called Through New Eyes. Okay. And it's by the author is James Jordan.
Okay.
So if you don't mind reading electronically, I'm pretty sure it's available for free in PDF. If not, you can order it. So
361 pages. Wow.
That would be, and some of them